grandma and me and some of your aunts would like to come to Night of Hope. And I was like, you come on.
Yeah.
You don't need my permission.
No.
It's a free concert event.
That's right. I mean, August 11th, Crossings Community Church here in Oklahoma City. So we got Josh Baldwin,
Yeah.
Bethel worship artist, who probably his biggest song is Stand in My Love, Stand in Your Love.
Stand in Your Love, yeah.
He has a bunch of other ones that I love as well. You Deserve It All, a lot of other ones. He'll be great.
I recommend See the Light.
Yes, that's right. He actually, one of his songs says "Hope is alive" in it.
That's
the one.
That's
okay.
the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably where God was leading me. Why we went that direction. And then this young man named Tim Tebow. He's coming.
I think I've heard of Tim Tebow.
Yes, on August 11th. And so to get to see him free, be able to be a part of this experience, I think people are going to really love and be very glad that they came.
Yeah.
It's August 11th. I've been saying it all day long for those that are listening on the social medias. If you are a youth minister or a pastor or somebody that has a student, a teacher, this is a great event to bring students to. It's a great event to bring your small group to.
Yeah.
To maybe some folks from your department or your team at work. Grab some neighbors. Come on a date night. I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable night, an unbelievable experience. You're going to want to come August 11th.
And like I said on the last episode, for those of you that have been listening, it's just a fun concert experience. Yes, you get some great words from our keynote speaker, Tim Tebow. Yes, you get some wonderful words from our founders, Lance and Allison Lang, but you get to just be yourself, break free, worship, and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, probably one of the most free environments to worship you'll have all year round.
Yeah.
And it's going to be lit.
It's going to be lit.
As the kids say.
That is a word.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go with the fact that it is, because we've said it a few times. So welcome back to the Hope Dealers Podcast, coming to you live from the Hope is Alive studios. So excited to be here, back with Lance Lang. Today we're talking about year 5.
That's right.
2017. Last week and the last year we talked about was really, the first Inspiring Lunch, Night of Hope out in Weatherford.
Yep.
A lot of firsts, though. A lot of, seeds coming in.
That's right.
And like we've said along the way, there's a lot of firsts in these early years, which is pretty exciting. One, we'll jump off right here. This year, we go to Tulsa in 2017.
Yeah. First big step outside of Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think at this point in our history, Allie had come on board. We'd established what a program would look like. We had 4 men's homes, 2 women's homes. We were beginning to think about what it could look like to expand to other cities. Quite frankly, we had gotten a lot of calls, a lot of interest from places on how to do it and different models that we could approach. But we really wanted it to be just like what we'd created in Oklahoma City, but in another place. And so I think, for us, people always ask me, what makes you ready to go to another place? What are you looking for? What are the things that you need to expand? And it's a combination of 2 things mainly. Finances, right? Some kind of partner that's willing to help fundraise for us, put their name to it, write a check, any of those kind of things. But even more than that, it's the leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the right leaders ready to go. And there's a young man at the time who was on our team. Devin Arnold was his name. He's a fantastic staff member. And he was ready to go. He was from Tulsa. He was willing to take that step. And it might not seem like a big thing today to expand to a new city in the Hope is Alive universe, but at this point in time,
that's a big deal.
Being away from the whole family, the whole thing, the whole core operations was a big step.
Yeah.
And so he was willing to do that, and so applaud him and honor him and thank him for that willingness. And it taught us a whole lot about how we do what we do. Of course, you don't know how much you're not doing right, or the areas that you need to improve, or your blind spots, until you take a step to expand what you're doing in another city, in another location. And a lot of times what works in one city is not going to work in another city. But we've tried to do our very best from that point forward to streamline our services and to think about, if we add something somewhere else, will it work everywhere else?
Right.
and that has to work. You can't just add something for Claremore and it doesn't work in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And those beginning days of what was happening in Oklahoma City and Tulsa taught us all that.
Absolutely. And you said, streamlining it and trying to do the same thing consistently across the board. I think that's a very exciting first for us, because we talked about in the previous episodes how you got a few houses in Oklahoma City that Brag on a Bro is taking place across these 3 places, and the same stuff is going on now on Sunday nights. The same thing that's happening in Oklahoma City is happening an hour and a half down the road in Tulsa.
Yeah, we were really working culturally with the leadership coach at that time to make sure that our culture transferred.
Yeah.
And that the language that we use transferred, the feel, the look, the vibe. I always say culture is a vibe, right? What's the vibe of the place? And that had to transfer. And we were really testing all of this with this first house in Tulsa.
And there's 4 out there now.
That's
today.
Right. That's right. 2 men's, 2 women's.
2 men's, 2 women. So really, it's like the second biggest market next to Oklahoma City. I know that it's really, a fun place for all of our events.
Yep.
There's been a lot of wonderful fruit bared from Tulsa.
Yeah, well, I'm from Pryor, which is right down the road from Tulsa. So Tulsa was the big city for me growing up, and so it felt like coming home. Obviously, we had a lot of momentum built in, a lot of relationships, a lot of church partnerships that were ready to get going with, and just shout out to Bubba Burcham because he's the guy who let us rent his house first there in Broken Arrow for the first Tulsa men's home. So it takes people buying in, seeing the fruits of the program, and people taking a risk and taking a chance. But that first step outside of Oklahoma City was a big one, and it showed us that we could do it. It gave us the confidence. Also helped us fail. I mean, you got to fail.
Sure.
You got to try some things and let them not work. And so we messed up on some stuff. We did some stuff wrong. We didn't always know exactly what we were doing in this way and that way. But going out there, taking a risk, putting ourselves out there helped us to realize those blind spots. We tried to course correct very quickly, and that gave us the momentum to do what we did later on that year, which was open the first women's home in Tulsa.
So 2 homes in the same year, brand new market. Hope is alive. I would say it's just things are clicking on all cylinders. It's working.
It is working, and anytime you expand to a new area, you begin to realize the things that you don't know that you need, and so those are kind of central office services, communication tools, software, more meeting schedules, all those kind of things that are really boring for listeners. But at the end of the day, like these are the groundbreaking, good old days, if you will, the foundation building days of Hope is Alive.
Love that. And there was a time, if I remember correctly, because we do a culture night once a quarter. It used to be once a month. There was a time when Tulsa had its own culture night, if I remember correctly.
That's right. They started coming over here,
and
then again we learned that that they're big enough to have their own things, and so they made their own culture night, and Allie and I would go over there. It'd be the second Sunday of the month instead of the first Sunday. Just a lot of, I think, just to anybody that's trying to start something, build something, you just got to try everything you can think of, and you know that it's not always going to perfectly work out, but try it, see what's not working, enhance it, correct it quickly. Don't get too attached to it, and God will show you what's the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. Having a little tightening issue.
There we go.
Okay. So another first, 2017, the sobriety sprint.
Yeah.
For those of you listening out there, we've got our next sobriety sprint's coming up September 30th of 2023. That's
Oklahoma City, Weatherford, Tulsa, Wichita.
4 cities. Go to sobrietysprint.com to find out more. This year is being hosted by our Finding Hope support group. Super, super excited about that. But before we go on asking you guys to come to that one, as we talk firsts in 2017, talk a little bit about the origins of the TZ Memorial Sobriety Sprint.
Yeah, in the name TZ, it stands for Tall Zach, and I'll get into that. But this young man's name was Zach Ayers Mendez. He was a tremendous young man, soft-spirited, soft-spoken, great spirit to him, humble, kind, hardworking. Came into the program and was changing his life. Was radically changing his life, and unfortunately, I want to say it was June 6th of this year, when he had really a freak incident with his heart and passed away. And it was a real big blow in the Hope is Alive world, and lost someone that everyone loved. Yeah. And it was heartbreaking and hard to know how to process. And even in those days as a leader, it was tough. You had to kind of step into moments that you weren't really prepared for. I had never envisioned leading a funeral. I never envisioned being in a hospital room when you hear those kind of news and those kind of things, and being with the family and just kind of stepping into tough environments and just trusting God. that he was in it, because it was tough.
Yeah.
But we loved the family so much, and his parents, Don and Mike, were huge parts of Finding Hope during that time. And they were just really dear friends of ours. And I'll never forget, it was after a Finding Hope meeting a couple months later. It might even been just a month later after he had passed. And they were so brave to still step into that support group, because it's hard to rip the Band-Aid off of a wound like that and to share about it. But they were there that night, and God had already laid it on my heart that this event that was on my mind needed to be memorialized, or Zach needed to be honored throughout the event. And he was a runner, or he was at least attempting to run. He was trying to get some running in, and so was I a little bit. We were both kind of trying to start running. And I just told him, hey, I feel like I want to do a 5K, and I want to call it the TZ, because he was Tall Zach. That was his nickname.
Tall
and
Zach.
All good nicknames get truncated or shrunken. So from Tall Zach, it went to TZ. I want to do a 5K event, and I want to do it in Zach's name.
Wow.
And they both, I remember right where I was, it was at our old office. They both started crying, and I felt like, okay, this is God confirming this, and they were willing to do it. And so we set out to host this 5K and to honor Zach and remember him. And what came of that was an event that not only honored Zach and any other person who was lost, and he didn't lose his life due to addiction, but we really wanted to have an event where we did remember those who had been lost to addiction, and also spur people on to celebrate their sobriety and to get out and to push their bodies in a physical way. And I'm all about that, if you know me, and pushing yourself to live your life to the fullest. And so that's what happened with the sobriety sprint in his honor, and we hosted it. I want to say it was in October of this year, because it was a little colder that first event. Actually, it was really cold, that first event that we did. And, just like any event that we've tried or anything that we've tried new, you just get out there and try to figure it out, and you don't know how to do it all, but you just give yourself the grace to give it your best shot. And we had several hundred people who showed up, and I know that TZ was honored, and from there it started a new tradition. Yeah. And we've hosted the sobriety sprint every year since, and have began to expand that into other cities that we are in. And to your point earlier, today, as we look towards September 30th of 2023, we'll host the sobriety sprint in 4 different cities, and we'll see well over 1,000 people attend this event. And it has really morphed into an event where those that are attending our Finding Hope support groups, those that are attending our Hope After Loss support groups, which are specific support groups just for those who have lost someone due to addiction. Right. This has become an event that we really want to give a lot of momentum and a lot of energy, a lot of investment even into this event, because we believe it's healing. Yeah. And it has some healing powers to it, to be able to come and to celebrate that person that you lost, that you loved, that you remember. And to be in an environment that's going to love you and celebrate you and lift you up. And so we're looking forward to that. And if you have somebody in your life that you've lost that you want to honor at this event, you can go to sobrietysprint.com.
Sobrietysprint.com.
And register them. You can also, of course, register to sponsor the event, volunteer at the event, or run/walk at the event. So that's a little bit of the history.
Love that. And if running's not your thing, don't let that phase you. There's plenty of us that have run this 5K.
Absolutely. It's a family-friendly event. We're going to have all kinds of different things, bouncy houses, whatever that means. We'll have food trucks, DJ, giveaway stuff. It's a fun Saturday morning. Yeah. And we moved it back a month because everybody was complaining to me that it was too hot in August. And so I guarantee you it'll be very hot in September, but we'll do it anyway. Yeah. September 30th. It should actually be a nice, cool fall morning, 9 o'clock, September 30th, in 4 different places. So if you're near any of those places, you should come out and be a part of it. But that's a little bit of the backstory.
Love that. Love that. Well, what a year. A lot of firsts again. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we move on to the,
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, Lance, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you all so much for listening. Again, nightofhopeokc.com. Going to keep talking about it August 11th. Just come, be yourself, enjoy a nice word from Tim Tebow, from Josh Baldwin, and from the surprise guest, who by the time this comes out, I'm sure you'll have heard about. And we will see you again next time on the Hope Dealers Podcast.